Hello, my dear friends. I welcome you all wholeheartedly to my channel Best Notes Tutorials. In this video, we will learn a short story which is Death in Venice by Thomas Mann. It is a German novel and the writer Thomas Mann talks about a unique topic, and that is homosexuality openly. This was the era when people used to hesitate to talk about this topic, but he talks about it openly so that the reality can be highlighted. So we will see how he puts in front of the readers and whether he was successful in introducing a new topic to the readers or not. What were the consequences of this new effort, and whether he was able to come back to the readers in a renowned way or not. All these things we will learn. So let's begin. Friends, before we start the novel, let me tell you that the main character in the story is a writer, alright, and through that writer, the writer of the novel, Thomas Mann, conveys his own life experience. He was a renowned writer, but still he had something evil in him, and that is homosexuality, and he talks in details about it. Friends, before we start the novel, let me tell you that the writer Thomas Mann, through Aschenbach, who is the main protagonist of the story, conveys his experience. He compares himself with Aschenbach, and through this writer he conveys that there is another topic which is unexplored by other people, which he experiences, though it was anti-social at that time. So we will take this theme and then we will learn the story. Friends, we know that Venice is a very wonderful place. This is in Italy. Alright, this is in Italy, and it is an island city. Alright, it is made in water. So we find there are no roads. There are no roads, and different places and different localities of this Venice city is connected by waterways. Okay, different canals are there, and for that Venice is known as the land of canals, the city of canals as well. So when we understand the topic Death in Venice, we understand Venice in dark frame. There is no beauty in Venice in the novel, but we find negative aspect of Venice. There is death in Venice. Usually people go for honeymoon in this place because this is the prime location for honeymoon period. But in this romantic place, a death happens, and because of that the title is Death in Venice. So though Venice is known for its beauty, it's a new life by couples, but still we find there is darkness in it, and it not only related to human being but related to nature as well, because excessive tourists are destroying the beauty of Venice. This topic is also dealt in length by the writer. So holistically we understand that the place Venice, which is known for its beauty, its luxurious life, is vanishing in this novel. Therefore we understand Venice as a degraded form. Let's begin with the summary now. The first character in the story is Gustav von Aschenbach. He is a writer from Germany, alright, and he has received many awards for his wonderful writing. Alright, he is in mood of traveling to Venice and learn the place in details. Therefore, he goes to Venice. Even if he had gone already in past, again he wants to visit this place. Now There is a boy called Tadzio who is also there in Venice. He had come with his family, and Achenbash meets with Tadzio and falls in love with him. This Tadzio is a young boy, and he is a very beautiful boy of Polish nation. He is a Polish boy from Poland, and his wonderful appearance attracts the writer Aschenbach. Writer Thomas Mann is being represented by Aschenbach. Okay. See, just like any other person, even Achenbach had suppressed his sexuality. Alright, he used to think about sex, alright, and he never projected it in front of his readers because he was a disciplined writer and he knew his limits. What should be in front of the readers and what should he hide? Those limits he had not crossed yet. But Thomas Mann talks about it through Aschenbach. I guess it is clear to you that Aschenbach is a writer, Tadzio is a young boy, and Aschenbach is attracted to Tadzio, and therefore his sexual desire becomes active. And this is unsocial because, first of all, it is talking about homosexuality, and another point is that Aschenbach, who is an old man, is attracted to a young boy. There should be a relationship of father and son, whereas he is talking about making love to Tadzio, and there lies the problem. Let's move ahead to the next point. Now see, the question of morality and dignity is highlighted. Morally, every person should be upright. Even though we are free to do anything in this society, we are bound by the limits. We are bound by the rules and regulations of the society. Invisibly, it is vested upon us. Alright, so we need to check whether our actions are according to the norms of our society or not. Here, Aschenbach is not able to control himself for time period till he was there in Germany. It was controlled, but when he sees Tadzio, his limits are not in his control. He breaks out, and what he does, he tries to approach to Tadzio whenever he felt like and whenever he got chance. Alright, so it talks about morality, dignity, and specifically sexuality. Let's move to Tadzio. Who is Tadzio? We will learn now. As I told you, Tadzio is a Polish boy. He is very innocent, alright, because of his attractive physique, attractive face. Aschenbach is inclining towards him. Next, we find that Tadzio has mother, sister, and a caretaker with him, and they have come to visit Italy, just like Aschenbach. The third and the last character is Jassu. Jassu is Tadzio's closest companion at the hotel. Apart from this man, Jassu, Tadzio does not talk much with anybody else than Achenbach a little bit. Okay, there was not a very active conversation between Tadzio and Aschenbach, but slight discussion only. Next, we find that Jassu idolizes Tadzio. Jassu loves Tadzio for his behavior and for his appearance as well. And Jassu acts like a feudal lord, as if he is rich. Alright, but actually he was not. He was a little bit jealous of Tadzio. So Jassu has glossy lips, black hair, a sturdy built body, and a rowdy temperament. He is angry now and then at a very flimsy pretext, serving as a polar opposite to Tadzio. Tadzio is a calm, kind-hearted boy, whereas Jassu is just opposite to Tadzio. So This is the reason that Aschenbach fell in love with Tadzio and not with Jasu. So these are the three characters that we see in the novel. The theme of the novel. Theme is rationalism and hedonism. Rationalism and hedonism. These two are contradictory things which are dealt in the novel. Let's understand individually. Rationalism means practicality, what is real and what is logical, what is reasonable, that are being dealt. And the writer at the same time talks about hedonism. Hedonism means that happiness and luxury is the only motive of life. Life is very short, and the people who are living on earth should have access, pleasure and happiness. So these are two contradictory things that we find, because rationality talks about more about discipline. All right, discipline, because without discipline a person cannot be a renowned person, because whichever field he or she is dealing in, there requires discipline. So as a writer he was a very disciplined person, but in his mind he wanted to have relaxation, luxurious life, which he had denied till now in order to be a very good writer. So through rationalism we need to understand discipline, how disciplined the writer Aschenbach was towards his work, which gave him lot of awards and recognition in the society. But in his heart and mind, he was waiting for pleasure and happiness of life. So, in the theme number 1, we have kept rationalism and hedonism. You can say in simple words the practical thing and imaginary thing, because utmost happiness we don't find anywhere. There will be some problems, and through problems we need to find out happiness for ourselves. So this is number 1. Let's move towards number 2. Number 2 is idealizing beauty. He talks about classical beauty in his writings. All right, classical beauty is utmost beauty which is unable to achieve. But when the writer Aschenbach sees this Tadzio, all right, Tadzio, the Polish boy, he finds that classical beauty is here. Classical beauty is in Tadzio, on his face, on his appearance, in his everything. All right, so we understand that the writer Aschenbach, who promotes classical art, classical theme, he talks about Tadzio's beauty, and which is unimaginable. So ideal beauty is not able to achieve, but Aschenbach achieves in the form of Tadzio. He is wonderful specimen of classical art. So here, idealizing beauty, he idolizes beauty of Tadzio. All right, so this is what we see. And not only this, throughout his life he talked about classical beauty in his writings. All right, but he could not give exact example of the same in his writings. But here he firmly says that he has got a beautiful human being who can be idolized by everyone. There is no defect in Tadzio. His heart is pure, his mind is sharp, and as a true human being, he is able to understand others' problem as well. So these are the things in number 2. Number 3 is about surrender to passion and death. In this story, we find Aschenbach is so much passionate about Tadzio. He wants to have Tadzio at any cost. And because of his passion, he approaches towards death. He was about to die, and signals were sent that he has to understand the severity of the topic. But he denies, and therefore eventually he dies. He dies not because of any other thing, but because of his passion. It's not that he was not intelligent, it's not that he could not get information from others, but because he was adamant about achieving Tadzio, he dies. Let's see the last one. Productive and dysfunctional solitude. Solitude means being alone. Alright, there are two things to discuss when we are alone. One thing is devoting your time in productive thing and destroying yourself. It is up to you. If you are productive, you will talk about different things. When we relate it to our life, we understand that there are different ways to engage our free time. Even if somebody is alone, they can be with different devices and make videos or do anything and keep themselves busy. But if it is dysfunctional, if your solitude, if your loneliness does not function well, all right, it means that the time that you are getting is not utilized properly, then the result will be just like Aschenbach. In the novel, he dies, and destruction is the theme for dysfunctional solitude. I hope these 4 topics are clear to you all, which is there in theme section. Okay, so let's move towards the summary. Gustav von Achenbach is a very intelligent and resourceful writer, and in order to become so, he had sacrificed his youth. Throughout his youth, that is when he was an adolescent, he devoted in sharpening his skills. He read more books and he used to write repeatedly so that the writings will be appropriate for the readers. So he avoided all the distractions like love, roaming, traveling, listening to music, everything he denied. Only focus was on sharpening his writing skills. So that is how he becomes a renowned writer. But now he is aging. This Aschenbach is getting old. So at this age, he is getting recognition from government and other writers association as well. He lives alone in Munich, Germany. All right, and therefore this is a German novel. He has nobody yet in his life. He is not married. All right, he is not married. Therefore, he does not have any family, which is mentioned by the writer Thomas Mann. One more thing I'll tell you to keep in mind is that Thomas Mann also was a very renowned writer, and this is because of his mother and father. All right, they were very disciplined personalities, and therefore they were able to shape Thomas Mann's career accordingly. So same thing is seen in Achenbach as well, who is a renowned writer because of his excessive devotion and hard work. Let's move ahead. The early 90s, a threat seemed to hang over the peace of Europe. In Europe, there was pandemic kind of situation, and because of that, maximum civilians died because of lack of medical help, because of lack of medical facilities, etc. One morning, when Achenbach completes his tedious task of writing, he wants to go out for a walk to refresh his mind. Just like a normal person, when Achenbach was bored of writing, he wanted to have fresh air, and therefore he went out. Alright, he went out for a walking, but because of a strong wind, he returned back to his home. Okay, because of his strong wind, he could not go for walk to distant places, and therefore he returns back. Now, while returning, he happens to see something. What was that? Let's find out. He passes through empty streets past the stone mansion's yards. Now, stone mansions means the one who makes coffin, and especially the top part of the coffin where the deceased person's portrait was to be carved out. Alright, the deceased person's bont or half body, that is face till chest, they used to carve on the stone, and it was placed on the graveyard just at the place of his tombstone. So this was being made by one of the shops. Alright, and because of excessive collection here, it looked like a graveyard. Achenbach stops to read the gilt lettering on the Byzantine mortuary chapel referring to the afterlife. Byzantine mortuary chapel, it means a place where the people used to worship. Alright, chapel is a place where people used to worship. So mortuary means the deceased ones. So they believed in afterlife, therefore they used to put the bond of deceased person in the grave. He noticed that there was a weird looking man. There was a man who was not normal, alright, and he had red hair. His appearance was just like a tourist, and he was staring aggressively at Achenbach. Okay, his appearance is mentioned out here that he displayed a long white teeth and gums. This is to show that he was looking a kind of ghost, and his staring made it so intense that Achenbach found it to be a little bit weird. Now this was the man who was not normal than others. He was a different kind of person. Most probably he was a tourist, he says. So what is the motive of this man, from where he has come, and what are his ideas about life? All these things he wanted to know. So without communicating, just by eye contact, he was able to understand more, and he developed a desire to travel to foreign lands. It is because he wanted to mix with other people, he wanted to know other people in foreign lands. So he plans for a journey, and he works on it very soon. Let's move ahead. Achenbach goes into imagination. He vividly envisions means imagines, a tropical swampland described in highly charged language evoked a sense of combined fertility and decay, eroticism and the grotesque. See here, it is combination of fertility, decay. Alright, the place which is fertile will be able to generate greenery and prosperity to the land and eventually to people. But at the same time, the land has the power to decay as well. Alright, because if the excessive use of natural resources are done, then they will decay. These are two of the themes. And next is eroticism. Eroticism is related to sexual arousal. Next, grotesque. Something gothic, something weird, alright, which is ununderstandable, which is incomprehensible, was seen when this man glares at Achenbach. But he quickly controls his mind and becomes alert that he should not overthink about all these topics. If he has to go out, he should plan for it and then he should go. But he should not have all these sorts of things in his mind, like thinking about sexuality, alright, thinking about decay, fertility, this and that. So he has to act and not to have a lot of plans in his mind. So he controls himself and then moves towards other plans. Achenbach returns to his habitual mindset, which shows self-discipline. Habitual mindset means he again starts writing. Alright, he again starts writing and switching from this erotism to writing, which is his main prime profession. Alright, shows discipline, self-discipline, that the mind keeps on floating here and there, but a self-disciplined person can bring themselves back to the normality. So this is the essence of this point. Next, he believes perfectionism to be the essence of artistic talent. He doesn't want to do anything just for the sake of doing. He wants to perfect it. Alright, we are talking about Aschenbach. Alright, he wants to do everything with perfection, and therefore he considers that to be artistic talent. If it is unaccomplished, if it is incomplete, then this cannot be regarded as an art. He says excessive passion impedes a writer's pursuit of excellence. Now, this is right, that if excessive motive is there in any of the writers or any of the artists, okay, he becomes overburdened, he will become pressurized, and then he will not be able to give his 100%. Therefore, he says that there should be limited pressure, limited expectation from the writer. Otherwise, their excellence will get diminished. Now he says that overthinking that his work might benefit from an element of inspired improvisation, he finally decides that a short vacation might improve his productivity. He says that overthinking has tried to diminish his writing excellence, and therefore he wants to go for a short vacation so that he can get re-energized and come back with more power to write well in his books. Okay, so what he does, he starts planning about the short vacation, and see what he thinks, that the element of improvisation is to be done, improvisation in his writing skills. So for that, what is required is to mix with people, and therefore he wants to go to another place for vacation. Okay, so he thinks that this short vacation is going to improve his productivity related to writing. Alright, writing. So he starts planning for the same. Now after thinking, alright, till now he is there at the mortuary builder, and therefore he again wants to see at red-haired man, but he was not seen anywhere. He vanishes mysteriously. Mysteriously word is written out here because the writer was there in front of that shop, and the red man vanishes. Now the time frame is very short. During this period he talks to himself about his productivity and moving to another place for inspiration and all that. So he goes in hallucination, and then that man vanishes. Now let's move to the second chapter, and here we find Aschenbach is the son of a high-ranking legal officer. See, Aschenbach is a son of a renowned person, and so was Thomas Mann. Okay, we can relate Aschenbach's life with that of the writer Thomas Mann. He is the descendant from a family with a long tradition of austere and disciplined service to the Prussian state. His father was a militant and mother was a music enthusiast. So in both the professions, discipline is required. So he grew in that situation, because of which he is also self-disciplined. He did not get chance to do whatever he liked during his childhood also, and when he becomes an adult as well. Therefore, because of disciplined parents, a disciplined child was born, and it was Aschenbach. His mother was the daughter of a music director from Bohemia. The narrator explains that it was his marriage between disciplined individual and more passionate inclination that made Aschenbach the artist he is. I told you that he had disciplined parents, Okay, both mother and father. Mother was the son of music director, and therefore trait of music was there in mother as well. And father was a militant, so discipline was there in his blood itself. So here Achenbach had also become a disciplined writer under the influence of his parents. He was pressurized for his future, hence he was debarred from all the pleasures of life. Now both the parents forced him to become something in his life. Therefore they debarred the child from all the pleasures of life, like meeting with friends, going out with friends, listening to music and other stuffs. Therefore he does not know what love is, what is the happiness that are received from mingling with friends, etc. So basically the pleasures of life related to love is denied to Achenbach. And it is said that whatever we don't get during our childhood, during adulthood, we want to have that at any cost. So same is the situation of Achenbach, that he wants to pursue further years with whatever he wants, because right now he has money, he has name, fame, everything. Now he can buy and explore things that he wants. So let's see what happens further. Now when he plans to go out, he realizes that all the pleasures were denied from his life, but dutiful devotion was required for becoming a writer. But at the same time he had to look after his health as well. So because of excessive work he was about to have a bad health. Therefore for refreshment he goes out. Now here in this section the main motive is that if somebody denies the basic pleasures of life, then they become ill. Alright, they become ill and they will lose their health. So in order to achieve great heights, they have to have a different kind of ambience. Sometimes friendly association is required, sometimes stern. So this time it was friends amalgam that was required by Achenbach. Now one thing we notice in all the work of Thomas Mann, and that is through his characters he talks about hard work and success. Alright, hard work and success. Avoiding distractions are one of the reasons why people become successful. So here he says that if somebody wants to win over the world, they have to win over their distractions. Now the protagonist who is victorious, alright, who are victorious, along with this protagonist, whoever renowned persons are victorious, they have given away all the evils of life, all the evils of society as well. Therefore they have emerged like the hero of ages. Without sacrifice this is not possible. If somebody stays at home, then they are not going to get name and fame. So that is what it is said here, that for being successful they need devotion, and if they are devoted then success will come to their life certainly. Now see, hard work and achieving success is discussed in length, alright, in this chapter 2. During the time of Achenbach, it was not easy to get recognition. Through their writing they had to prove, and not only in the field of writing but in any spheres of life, dedication is required. So in order to get recognized, they had to slog like anything. But Achenbach did not mind. He was headstrong, and headstrong, it means he was very much determined that he will be successful in his writing. So being an intellectually radical, he started writing on the topics which are renowned, and very beautifully he used to portray it. Therefore people accepted him, people accepted his writing, and then finally we find he is a great writer in Germany. Okay, he is a writer from Germany. Please keep in mind he is living in Munich, Germany, and he shifts to, for time being, he shifts to Italy, and Venice is the place where he wanted to visit. And this was a very short trip, but in this short trip, he loses his life. So what had happened, we will understand. Now, thinking about his journey, he makes a plan, and now he is set out on his journey. Now, after that incident, when he saw red-haired man and decided to go out for a journey, it's been 2 weeks. Now he plans for the travel. He is traveling to Adriatic Island, which is near to Venice. Alright, Adriatic is an ocean where different islands are created, and in this island, buildings are created beautifully, and this has become a site for the tourists. So he wanted to visit Adriatic and he set out for the same. But unfortunately, the weather was not fine. It was a rainy weather. Therefore, not only rainy weather, provincial flavor did not suit his fantastic mutation of normal reality. See, he was in different mood. Okay, he wanted to explore another part of his life. Okay, apart from being disciplined, he wanted to have a lavish and happy life in this journey, in this vacation. But the weather was not suitable. Therefore, he shifts to Venice, Italy. Now, after setting out for the journey, it's been 10 days, and in these 10 days, he goes to Adriatic Island, which he did not like, and then came to Venice, Italy. He meets a shabby, hunchbacked seaman while boarding the boat. See, especially Venice is a city of canals. We don't find any roads in Venice. Through boats, those are called gondolas. Those boats are called gondolas. Alright. And the one who rows the boat, they are called gondoliers. Gondoliers. Alright. So, he hired a gondola, and then a gondolier started taking him to another place. So he boarded into a boat and started his journey to the place called Venice. Venice is the city which has canals, and it is because there are no roads in the city. And this water, these canals makes the city very beautiful and very romantic for the tourists. Now, he finds a funny man with a goatee, takes his money and hands him the ticket. Goatee means the beard which is just like a goat. You must have seen goat beard kind of hair on their chin. So the same kind of hair was seen on this gondolier's chin. Both men are obedient and distastefully flatters, as if fearing that their customer will change his mind about the voyage. Now this happens to all the businessmen, that if they find customer, they want to give whatever their demand is as soon as possible. Otherwise, they will shift to another hotel, another shop, or another boatman. Alright, therefore, quickly he takes the money, alright, and then he gives a smile and shows as if he is a very obedient person. Alright, so faking the smile, he starts with the journey. Now, while he was boarded into the boat, he watches a group of merry-making young men who all were making a loud noise in the ship. Not only that, there was a man who was youthful by his looks, but he had a lot of makeup on it, and this was done to look young. An old man had put on a lot of makeup in order to look young, because he was on journey and he wanted to enjoy his youth. Therefore, He had done a lot of makeup. Now we will understand what were there in makeup. He had put blush on rosy cheeks. Then he had a wig. It was not his original hair, and mustache were also dyed, and his teeth was false. So because of all these accessories he looked young, and that was not required. Now why that man is mentioned, it is because in this story made up things never lasts. Alright, the things which are not natural are not going to last, and it has a very significant meaning by which is projected by this concept makeup concept. He wonders whether the other merrymakers simply do not notice. See, everybody is not going to notice the makeup because others might be sailing in the same boat. It means they might be having the same problem. They might be old, they might have dyed their hair, they might wearing wigs, false teeth, etc. So they did not question this weird looking man. The writer, Thomas Mann, just wants to show that fake is fake. This is not going to last for a longer period. That's it. Let's move ahead. Now, moving ahead, we see that the world around Achenbach had become different. It was becoming strange and dreamlike. So, here he happens to see that some irrational things were happening. First of all, he had seen those people, alright, and suddenly weather changes, and he was not familiar with this land. So he was feeling irrational, impractical here. However, the uniform greyness of sea and sky soon lulled Achenbach into a state of sleep. Now see, in the Adriatic island, he was able to see sun. It means the weather was hot, but not here. But not here in Venice. It was having a pleasant weather, alright. In the sky there was no sun, and sea was there in front of him, so it was a soothing weather in Venice. Although in previous trips to the city he has always been greeted by sun. I told you that sun was not there in Adriatic island. That is why he found Venice to be comfortable. Now in this point, the writer talks about change of weather. Earlier, Venice was not like this. Right now, there is change in weather now and then. Now and then they have rain excessively, and this because of this Venice is drowning. Venice is getting into water every minute. Achenbach talks about sky being heavy with clouds in Venice, and he says that this is different Venice. I told you this is different Venice because it is not as beautiful as other years. Prior he had visited this place, but it was not like this. More tourists have started coming, and more pollution is there, and more destruction has been caused to this beautiful place by human arrival, especially tourists. Again he sighs, the over made up old man, now disgustingly drunk and gesturing vulgarity. Now this man who was having a lot of makeup on the boat, he was seen again in the scene, in the story, and he was totally drunk now. This is to show that where there is no rules and regulation, people lose their control and they become a problem for the society. So not only he is drunk, but he is gesturing vulgarity. Sometimes he is making some signs by his hands, sometimes some gestures which is vulgar, which Achenbach did not like. But what he does, let's see. As he disembarks, the man approaches him, drooling and repellent, smiling phonily and extending his compliments to Achenbach's sweetheart. Suddenly, somebody comes to meet with Achenbach, and he was taken into the land. He was welcomed by some of the person in Italy. Now, the narrator says that the black coat which Achenbach was wearing, that was looking just like a coffin. So it is connected with the last journey of the writer. That is Achenbach. We are talking about the writer Achenbach, who is wearing black cloth, and black cloth represents death. It is not auspicious in foreign land. So it appears to be a coffin for the protagonist Achenbach, and he dies in Venice. So how does it happen? We will see. Now, sitting himself, however, Achenbach feels not a sense of dread, but rather one of lulling luxury. Now, he is trying to remove the feeling of negativity, and he tries, and therefore he goes to sleep in a peaceful way. He becomes so much drowsy and languor. Languor means to become very weak because of journey, and because of a little bit of nervousness he had become very drowsy, and he was not able to do anything else at this place. However, he notices with a great start that the gondola is headed out of sea rather than to the Vaporetto stop, where he had intended to take the smaller boat that would bring him to the hotel. Now, after reaching there, there was no such plan which is specifically made here, but he had to go to this place, Vaporetto shop, and then he had to take into a small boat, and then his final destination will reach. This is to show that all the measures were taken by the reader in order to make things fall into places, but they could not see it. Achenbach could not see it. My dear friends, we will keep our story here. We will continue in our next video the ending of this novel.